Okay, so we've got a lot of really interesting stuff to dig into this time.
Yeah.
And it's all about the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of heard of it, right?
Yeah, this is a classic.
It's like one of those mysteries that never really seems to go away.
Exactly.
And for people who might not know exactly what we're talking about,
Right.
I mean, it's this huge area of the Atlantic Ocean, like 500,000 square miles or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sits between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. And, you know, it's
the points of the triangle.
The points of the triangle.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes it so fascinating and kind of creepy, honestly,
Right.
is just the number of ships and planes that have vanished there. Over 1,000 since people started keeping track.
Wow.
Which is...
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And it's like an average of 4 planes and 20 ships every year.
Really?
Just disappearing.
Yeah.
And it's not like they just crash and we find bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's like they just cease to exist.
Just gone.
No wreckage, no survivors, nothing.
It's like they were never there.
Exactly. It's like the sea or the sky just swallowed them whole.
Yeah. It's truly perplexing when you look at the numbers across so many years.
Right.
The sheer concentration of these events in one place defies easy explanation.
Exactly. And like you said, it's that lack of any trace that just adds this whole other level of mystery.
Absolutely. It keeps the debate going and all the different theories coming out.
Yeah. So to really wrap our heads around how big of a mystery this is, we've got to look at some of the big ones.
Right.
The famous cases people have always talked about.
Absolutely.
And you guys sent in some great material about those.
Yes.
Like the USS Cyclops back in 1918.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't just some little boat.
Right.
It was a huge Navy ship, a collier.
Huge.
Carrying coal with over 300 people on board.
Wow.
And it just vanishes. No distress call, no wreckage ever found.
It's incredible to think about something that big just disappearing.
I know a ship that size to leave no trace behind.
It's really hard to comprehend.
Yeah, makes you wonder what could possibly do that.
Makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Right. And then there's the one everybody knows, Flight 1945, 5 Navy bombers on a training mission. Gone without a trace.
Right into thin air.
And the really freaky part, they sent out a search plane to find them.
Right.
And that disappeared too.
Another plane gone.
13 more people gone.
Just like that.
6 aircraft. 27 people all in one incident.
That's a whole different level of strange.
That's the kind of story that gets stuck in your head, you know?
You can't forget something like that.
And Flight 19 is a big reason why the Bermuda Triangle is so famous.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a cornerstone of the whole legend.
Because it's not just one plane having a problem.
Right.
It's multiple planes, and then the rescue plane, too.
Makes you think it's something more than just a few mechanical failures.
Or pilot error.
Or bad luck.
Exactly. And then there were those reports of weird radio transmissions.
Yeah, the pilots sounding disoriented.
Lost, confused.
Yeah, adding more layers to the mystery.
And it's not even just the disappearing act itself.
Right.
Like we were talking about before, sometimes there are these really weird things that happen.
Yeah, the strange phenomena people report.
The compass is spinning out of control.
Like they're going haywire.
Storms appearing out of nowhere.
Some violent storms.
Yeah, and then you have people talking about time distortions.
Time distortion.
Pilots saying their instruments were messed up.
Like time itself was bending.
Or even that they felt like time was skipping.
Wow.
And on top of all that, the thing that gets me is the silence.
The silence?
No SOS signals, no debris, no nothing.
Complete silence.
It's unsettling, right?
It's like these events happen in a void completely isolated.
Yeah, like something just plucks them out of existence.
It's a total mystery.
So that's the mystery we're tackling today.
We've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah. A lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack.
And we're going to look at everything from the science to some of the wilder ideas.
Yeah, the more imaginative theories.
But the main thing is we want to understand this.
Right.
Not necessarily say, yeah, this is definitely it.
Or debunk everything.
Exactly. We're here to explore and learn.
To dive deep into the possibilities.
Okay, so let's start with the science.
Sounds good.
What are some of the scientific explanations for what might be going on in the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, one of the big ones is rogue waves.
Rogue waves?
Yeah, scientists, especially from the University of Southampton, have been looking into this.
Okay.
And they make a pretty strong case, especially when it comes to ships disappearing.
Okay, so tell me about rogue waves.
So these are basically giant waves.
Giant? Like how giant?
Like up to 30 meters high.
30 meters? That's almost 100 feet.
Yeah, huge walls of water, and they just pop up out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere? How does that even happen?
Well, it seems like the weather patterns in the Bermuda Triangle are kind of perfect for it.
Right.
You get storms coming from different directions.
Okay.
The winds converge.
Yeah.
And bam, you get these monster waves forming suddenly.
That's terrifying. And they think these waves could sink ships.
Oh, absolutely. Especially big ships like the Cyclops.
Right, the one we were talking about before.
Exactly.
But how do they know that?
They actually did an experiment with a model of the Cyclops.
A model.
A scaled down version.
Okay.
And they hit it with simulated rogue waves.
And what happened?
The model sank super fast.
Wow.
Like it just got overwhelmed and went under.
So they think a real rogue wave could do that to a real ship.
Yeah, they think it could break it apart or flip it over.
Just like that.
Yeah. And the Bermuda Triangle is known for having some really intense storms.
Right.
Winds over 100 kilometers per hour.
So it seems like rogue waves could explain some of the ship disappearances.
Definitely. Especially the ones that happen during bad weather.
It would explain why there's no wreckage, too.
Right. The ship sinks quickly and breaks apart.
There might not be much left to find.
Exactly.
But what about the planes?
Yeah, that's the problem with the rogue wave theory.
Right. A giant wave isn't going to take down a plane flying thousands of feet up.
Nope. And it doesn't explain the compass problems or the radio interference either.
Okay, so rogue waves might be part of the puzzle?
One piece of the puzzle.
But they're not the whole story.
Not the whole story.
Okay, so what else is there?
Well, another interesting theory is the methane gas theory.
Methane gas.
Yeah, you know the stuff that comes out of cows?
I know what methane is, but what does that have to do with the Bermuda Triangle?
So an Australian scientist named Carl Nicky came up with this theory.
Okay.
And he says there are these huge deposits of methane gas under the seabed in the Bermuda Triangle.
Under the ocean floor.
Yeah, it's trapped in this icy structure called methane hydrate.
Okay.
And sometimes it can get released suddenly, like a big eruption.
An underwater methane volcano?
Sort of, and this could be bad news for both ships and planes.
For both. How?
Well, for ships, if a big methane bubble comes up under them, it can make the water less dense.
Less dense.
Yeah, so the ship would suddenly lose its buoyancy and sink.
Like falling into quicksand.
Exactly. Some people describe it like that.
What about planes?
Well, the methane could also affect the engines.
How?
If the plane flies through a pocket of methane, it could choke the engines.
Like it displaces the oxygen?
Yeah, and the engines could stall or even catch fire.
Wow. And there are methane vents in the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah, surveys have shown that there are a bunch of them down there.
So it's possible that this could happen.
It's possible.
And Nicky thinks this might explain Flight 19.
He does. He says a methane blast could have taken down the bombers and the rescue plane.
And maybe scattered the wreckage so we can't find it.
Exactly.
This is a pretty dramatic theory.
It is, but there are some problems with it.
Like what?
Well, nobody has ever actually seen a methane eruption happen at the same time as a disappearance.
So it's all theoretical.
Right, and it doesn't explain the time stuff.
The time distortions.
Yeah, as far as we know, methane gas doesn't mess with time.
Right. So there are some holes in this theory.
There are, but it's still interesting.
Yeah, and Carl Nicky himself had another idea about the Bermuda Triangle.
He did. He said maybe it's just a combination of normal factors.
Normal factors.
Yeah, like bad weather.
The Bermuda Triangle is known for its storms, right?
Yeah, and heavy traffic.
Lots of ships and planes going through there.
Exactly, and maybe in the older days the technology wasn't as good.
So more room for human error.
Right.
So basically he's saying it's just a statistically dangerous place.
That's his argument. And that makes sense, right?
It does, but it doesn't explain the really weird stuff.
The things that make the Bermuda Triangle so unique.
The complete disappearances, the silence, the strange phenomena.
So maybe this explains some of the incidents.
Maybe the more straightforward ones.
But not the ones that make you go, huh, what's going on here?
Yeah, the ones that keep the mystery alive. Right, so we've covered some of the scientific theories.
Some more grounded explanations.
But now let's get into the really fun stuff.
The speculative stuff.
The stuff that makes you wonder.
The more out there theories.
Right? Because sometimes the science just doesn't cut it.
Sometimes you need to think outside the box.
Exactly. So what are some of the more imaginative explanations for the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, one of the most popular is aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah, UFOs, extraterrestrials.
Of course, you can't talk about the Bermuda Triangle without mentioning aliens.
It's almost a requirement.
And this theory really took off in the 60s with authors like Charles Berlitz.
Berlitz was a big proponent of the alien abduction theory.
So what's the basic idea?
The idea is that aliens are taking the ships and planes.
Abducting them.
Yeah, maybe for experiments or who knows what.
And they say this explains why we don't find any wreckage.
Right. If the aliens take the whole thing, there's nothing left to find.
And this idea has shown up in a lot of movies and TV shows.
It's definitely become part of popular culture.
Like Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Spielberg's classic.
Yeah, they even hinted that the disappearances were connected to aliens.
A lot of people believe it.
But is there any actual proof?
Well, that's the thing. There's no hard evidence.
Just stories and speculation.
Right. But it's a compelling theory.
It does explain the clean disappearances.
It does.
Okay, so maybe aliens are buzzing around the Bermuda Triangle and snatching things up.
It's a possibility.
But let's move on to another theory.
What about time warps?
Time warps.
Yeah, or portals.
Like a rip in the fabric of reality.
Exactly, a doorway to another dimension or another time.
That's some serious sci-fi stuff.
It is, but some people think it could be happening in the Bermuda Triangle.
And what makes them think that?
Well, they point to those weird compass readings.
The ones that go crazy.
Yeah, they say maybe that's a sign of something messing with time and space.
Like a disruption in the normal flow of things.
Right, and there are these stories of pilots experiencing time skips.
Time.
Like they fly into a fog bank and suddenly they're hours ahead of schedule.
Like they jump forward in time.
Yeah, it's freaky stuff.
But are these stories true?
Hard to say. A lot of them are anecdotal.
No real proof.
Not really, but they keep the idea alive.
And it's a fascinating idea.
It is. People are always drawn to the unknown.
The mysteries of time and space.
Yeah, the possibility that there's more to the universe than we can see.
Okay, so maybe the Bermuda Triangle is a gateway to somewhere else.
A portal to the unknown.
But let's talk about the theory that connects the Bermuda Triangle to Atlantis.
Atlantis, the lost city.
Yeah, that's a classic.
The legend that never dies.
And for a long time, people have been saying Atlantis might be connected to the Bermuda Triangle.
It makes sense in a way.
Yeah, lost city under the sea, causing all these disappearances.
It's a dramatic story.
So what's the theory exactly?
The theory is that the ruins of Atlantis are somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay.
And maybe some of their technology is still working.
Atlantean technology.
Yeah. And maybe that technology is what's causing the ships and planes to vanish.
Like, what kind of technology are we talking about?
Well, the legends say Atlantis was super advanced.
Right.
They had technology way ahead of their time, maybe energy weapons or something.
Energy weapons from thousands of years ago.
That's the idea.
And they think this ancient technology could still be messing with our modern stuff.
Some people believe that.
And they say there's evidence for this.
Right, the Bimini Road.
The Bimini Road.
Yeah, it's a formation of underwater rocks off the coast of Bimini.
Okay.
And some people say it's a road or a wall built by the Atlanteans.
Like ruins from the lost city.
Exactly.
But is there any proof that it's actually man-made?
Not really. Scientists are still debating that.
Some say it's natural. Some say it's artificial.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
But even if it's not from Atlantis, the idea is still interesting.
It is?
Like, what if ancient technology is messing with our stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of like when your computer glitches.
Only on a much bigger scale.
And with much higher stakes.
Right. But again, no real proof that this is happening.
Just a lot of speculation.
But it's a fun theory to think about.
It is. It captures the imagination.
So we've looked at a lot of theories today.
We've covered a lot of ground.
From rogue waves to methane gas to aliens, portals, and Atlantis.
We've explored the spectrum of possibilities.
But it's important to remember that the mystery is real.
Yeah. The disappearances are documented.
People have actually vanished in the Bermuda Triangle.
There's no denying that.
And the science can explain some of it.
Maybe the rogue waves can explain some of the ship losses.
But there's still that weirdness factor.
The things that can't be explained.
The lack of wreckage, the radio silence, the time distortions.
The eerie silence.
That's what keeps people fascinated by the Bermuda Triangle.
And it's what keeps the more outlandish theories alive.
People want to believe there's something more to it.
Something beyond our understanding.
And maybe there is.
Maybe.
I think the reason why the Bermuda Triangle is so popular
Yeah, why it's so captivating.
is because it taps into our deepest fears and curiosities.
Our fascination with the unknown.
We're scared of what we don't understand.
And we're drawn to it at the same time.
We want to believe in something bigger than ourselves.
Something extraordinary.
So I'm going to leave you with this question.
A question to ponder.
What do you think is going on in the Bermuda Triangle?
What explanation resonates with you?
Is it the science, the natural forces,
The rogue waves, the methane gas?
or is it something more?
Something stranger, something unexplained.
Maybe it's a combination of both.
A mix of the natural and the supernatural.
We may never know for sure.
But that's what makes it so intriguing.
It's an ongoing mystery.
A puzzle that may never be solved.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Bermuda Triangle.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Until next time, keep wondering, keep exploring, and keep looking for answers.
And keep your compasses handy.
Yeah, especially if you're sailing through the Bermuda Triangle.
You never know what might happen out there.
Thanks again for listening.
Why?